We had some nice service and social projects in November, bowling, which I think addressed at the last meeting. And then there was a service project at ABVI middle of November that was, I guess I would call it cleaning things out at ABVI. So I think that went pretty well. Thanks to Kelly and Sheriff for setting that all up. Upcoming in December, holiday social is a week from Saturday, so the 13th at Blythefield. RSVPs are due by this Friday, 3 days from now. And I think we're a little bit late, so please, if you're gonna look at it, take a look and RSVP to Cheryl so we can make sure.
No.
Or Kim Gary, I'm sorry, it's going to Kim Gary, that's right.
Even though Blythefield, I have no control.
Yeah. So please take a look at that. And Rob, is there anything you wanted to say more about social or about the Christmas event?
Well, you should come. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer. I mean, your members, there's no cost other than you have your spouse or significant other, it's I think $50. We're gonna have the raffle, which we always have, and that's a lot of fun. Mark's gonna have his 12 days of Christmas. So it's really a great party. If you weren't there last year, Blythefield is beautifully decorated for the holidays. And the other reason is, to the extent that Don's here, the raffle kicks off a little excess, which can fund some of the more social committee functions in the year. So really, if your schedule is open, you should do it. It's a great party. I hope everybody can do it.
And I think we're bringing a raffle prize as well, right?
Yeah, if you can, that'd be great.
Excellent. Yeah, so bring cash and a raffle prize. Holiday shopping, I think as many of you know, we had to kind of shift gears on that this year for a few reasons. I don't want to foreshadow too much, but Family Promise is where those dollars are going, and I think these our folks here are going to talk to us about that shortly. So nobody show up at Meyer on Saturday morning or anything like that. That's not happening this year. Or Saturday. Yeah. Couple other notes that I just wanted to mention. One, I put it in the newsletter, I guess, this last week, but Cheryl has been secretary for an awful long time, and one of the things that she committed to was staying on as secretary until I was done being president. That's only a few months away. We'd really like to find Cheryl a replacement. So if you are interested in learning more about it, or if you know somebody who you think would be interested, we'd love to hear from you.
It's been 9 years. Somebody needs to take the reins.
Cheryl needs a break. And she's got other Lions commitments going on and that are kind of growing as well. So we're trying to alleviate her of some of her duties here local.
Do it for 10 to get a pin.
Might do it for that.
The last announcement I have is I also have raffle tickets. This is the Lions Foundation of Michigan. They do the raffle every spring. They're $10 tickets. It's a few different things in one. It's a fundraiser for the foundation, first and foremost. Secondly, our club, we get kicked back depending on how many tickets we sell. Between $3 and $5 of each ticket comes back to the club. And of course, if you win, there's various prizes ranging from $1,000 to I think it's about $5,000. So these are great gifts for yourself or stocking stuffers for others. I've got a stack. I'll have them in the next few meetings, $10 each. All you gotta do is fill out your info and give me $10, and that's it. So before I turn it over to Jamie, is there anybody else, any other announcements for the good of the club that I'm missing or forgetting, or anything else that needs addressed? Okay, Jamie, you're up.
This? I walk around too much.
You do.
And I'll make sure I speak loud enough. I imagine I can make the back of the room. But anyways, look around for any guests. I don't believe we have any guests here today except for our speakers. And so I will pass that. But looking around for pins. And for those that have forgotten that holidays, you're expected to wear certain colors for the last meeting before that holiday,
That'll be the third.
Wait.
wouldn't
which would be
We take that vote.
Christmas, and this is the first one, and so it didn't wear red or green, which I don't see. There was a lot of red over here. Fortunately, Gail reminded me of this before I walked out the door, but you know, you need help, you need help, so anyways, I'm wearing it.
I've got Hanukkah colors on. What is it?
Yeah. Anybody else that, you know, I can see you, by the way. And I collected this thing. I don't know if Pat actually remembered or,
I remember.
I got lucky. Your table's worth. Oh, you've got the red in there. The new member awesome here. No. No. Okay. And back here. Right in front of you, that was rude. Yes, I make a lot of work for Cheryl as I walk around and she tries to keep me on.
I'm
schedule.
smiling.
I gotta put this.
Give it to Don.
That's pretty good ball there. So going from those bucks to happy bucks. Anybody got anything they want to tell us or with happy bucks? I can start it off. I'm happy that my son, daughter-in-law, and family came in. We don't see them very often, so very pleased with that. And probably as much pleased also that on their drive home on Sunday
Oh,
from here to Massachusetts, they got home. Yeah, so. Any other happy bucks?
I have a happy buck. Our son works for the Norwegian Refugee Council, and one of the programs that he was working on has been nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. It's in
Okay.
So my first grandchild it's a female. She is now engaged.
Yes. He's standing up, I'll get up.
I just, happy buck, the Broncos are heading to the MAC championship.
Three, four, five, you know.
So thank you for the cleanup at ADDI, that really helped out, all the hands, really helped clean out, an area that had just become neglected, so thank you for that. And the second one is for, my son Ben, he is going to be interning at Boeing this summer, so a really big move for him, I guess I'm getting old because I have a kid who's moving away from the nest. That's a really cool thing. Yeah. So, yeah.
Sure. So I got a second one here. So while Michigan laid a big egg on Saturday, I can't go to the game without thinking of Mike Lund and how much fun it was having him out there.
oh, good memory.
He would have been.
Yep, oh, yeah.
With his gold pants.
Yeah, I would too, I think my information is that foundation, that kind of dog. My hair didn't handle it. But my older son plays for West Catholic football. He kicks, in addition, plays soccer, plays for the West Catholic football team, and we won the state title. He had 6 extra points.
Okay, I'm pretty much done. Make sure you get your parking tickets taken care of and, aside from that.
Down here, raffle.
Oh, that thing too. Put that money there. Stay separate. Okay. First, you know, you got this feels heavy. Gonna drop that in there. Then I'm going to
Or maybe that.
And.
Oh, yeah, here. we go.
Yes.
Would you mind pulling a ticket for us?
Sure.
First ticket is worth $5.
336-522.
All right.
All right. And I'll get Brandon.
And the second ticket gets the opportunity to draw that white chip that I put in here, which will give them half of the pot that's built up.
$280 in the pot.
Oh, that's pretty good. Doesn't sound like the odds are pretty good.
Our second ticket that we drew is 336-499.
Younger.
It's always good to get our guests involved in that.
Good save.
The right ones, huh? Is this the right one?
You can pull this trigger.
Oh.
Oh, red ticket.
You probably Jim.
We tried.
Yeah.
Okay, before I turn it over to Mark and the speakers, I think there was one more announcement Pat had.
Yeah, Cheryl will be sending out an email today, most likely or tomorrow. It's just a reminder to everybody from the foundation committee, that giving donations to any charities. The Lions Club Foundation might be a good choice, so that let the email be going out today.
Yeah, I set you up.
Perfect, perfect.
I'm on that committee, by the way.
Good reminder, and I think today's Giving Tuesday, so.
Yeah.
Okay, with that, I'm gonna have Mark introduce our speakers.
Before I introduce the speakers, just some upcoming programs, we are having a young lady coming in February whose father was one of the monument men that helped secure all the art that was stolen by the Nazis in Germany. So she's going to be talking about that. We've got a gentleman set up for March that is an expert on Michigan lighthouses. So that may be old bright up your day. Yeah.
See.
Okay. And also a local Grand Rapids based company has designed a pickleball. Who pickles here? That doesn't make any noise. And if you recently saw the, I think it was Carmel, California, is outlawing pickleball because it's so damn noisy. Anyway, I digress. Today's speakers, excuse me, are with Family Promise. Forgive me for reading this because I have no memory. Our speaker today is Kelsey Vining. She's Master's in Social Work, Director of Advancement at Family Promise. Family Promise is West Michigan's community-driven nonprofit, helping people overcome crises with dignity, compassion, and providing emergency shelter and help build stability and hope. So without further ado, Kelsey, come up and.
Thank you so much. We've been so looking forward to coming along ever since we got connected with Victoria. My name is Kelsey, and my colleague Jim Davis is over here. He's gonna say a quick something before I kick off with the presentation, and he'll also be at the tail end. We're hoping this will be a quick 10-15 minute, and then we'll have some time for questions at the end about Family Promise.
Thanks, Kelsey. Thank you for having us. The meal was delicious. We know many places to be. We're here because of an opportunity as we see it, but we are also aware that a long time tradition that you value quite highly has kind of found its end in its traditional sense. And so our hope today is to spend about 10 minutes giving you an overview of who Family Promise is and what we do from a 30,000-foot view. And at the end, my hope is that we can tie it to show you how the work that you've been doing and partnering alongside these holidays over the years and years and years is relevant to some of the programs that we hold in December and New Year's. And that might be redundant, so we'll keep it brief. We'll leave time for questions. I don't know who we give raffle ticket items to for the raffle that you need items for, but my birthday was this weekend and I have a bowling ball with Jim etched into it. That would be a great prize.
All right. So a quick snapshot of our mission at Family Promise. We are ending homelessness locally, one family at a time. We've been around since 1997. We were started as the Greater Grand Rapids Interfaith Hospitality Network. 12 congregations came together to say, hey, there is no place in our community right now for families to shelter together. If they went to a traditional gospel rescue mission setting, dads would get sent to one side, older boys would get sent. And the family was split up during a really traumatic time. And those congregations came together. There was actually a pastor from Pennsylvania that had taken a call here in Grand Rapids and said, we used to do this thing called IHN. We should do that here. And there was 12 congregations that came together to start that rotational model. And it has grown into our organization sheltering over 50 families in a variety of settings every single night here locally, as well as partnering with them to make sure they stay stable and continue to find that place to call home and stay home for sometimes, most times up to 2 years. So we are part of a national affiliate. The first Family Promise was founded in New Jersey by a woman named Karen Olson. She had met a woman on the subway named Millie. She started bringing sandwiches to Millie. She realized in developing a relationship with her over the years that she was actually part of a family, and she had been in a housing crisis and was split up from her kids. And Karen said, what about all these congregations? What about all these buildings that aren't used in the evening? How could we utilize them to help families, even if it's one family at a time? And that was the first rotational shelter that was built in the 80s. So we have about 200 affiliates nationwide. A unique piece about our local affiliate is we actually are one of the largest affiliates across the country. So we're very much seen as a flagship to the rest of the affiliates in the United States. We have a significantly larger staff than most affiliates do. We also have a unique connection to Family Promise National. Our former CEO, Cheryl Shook, who led our organization for about 14 years, is now the Family Promise National CEO, and she still lives here locally. And so we're seeing Cheryl from time to time. She never left us. But we now have a new CEO, Tanisa Fry, and she's been an incredible partner, was on our board for many years before she became our CEO. But we do have that unique connection because of Cheryl and our position as an affiliate. So a lot of times when we talk about Family Promise, we try to change the narrative a little bit around homelessness. Oftentimes when you think of, if you were to close your eyes and imagine a person experiencing homelessness, the first thing that comes to your mind often is not a child or a single mom with her kids. It's often that individual you might see as you're getting off of the highway. That might fit that stereotype. And we have amazing partners in the community like Degajay and Mel Trotter, Exodus Place and whatnot that are serving that population of homelessness, but Family Promise is hyper focused on families with children. And we also know that we are the quickest growing population of people experiencing homelessness as families. That top quote, having a child in a rental unit is the single greatest predictor of an eviction, comes from the book by Matthew Desmond called Evicted. It's probably over a decade old now, but it is a riveting book. He has a 2-part study, a lived experience study where he lives in manufactured housing communities in a couple of places, studying eviction firsthand, as well as a lot of other research data that he collects over the course of a long period of time, studying eviction in the United States. He has lots of podcasts that he's been on, TED Talks. Matthew Desmond, highly recommend. It really paints a very clear picture of what is going on in our country regarding the eviction crisis, which is of course very interwoven with the affordable housing crisis we're experiencing right now. So a few factors that contribute to the families that we're serving. I always try to take a step back and say, how do I come from a lens of curiosity versus a lens of judgment? And oftentimes we might look at an individual, see them on the street, interact with someone and have that gut reaction of, well, they could have done, or this was their issue, or they could have solved. And so often with the families that walk into our doors, they had no control over the fact that they're experiencing homelessness right now. That could have been just the overall issue of cost of living. We've had so many families in the last couple of years who have landed on our doorstep, spoken to us on the phone saying, I was in my apartment for 8 years and my landlord decided to sell this unit. I was successfully renting for a long period of time at an affordable rate. Now I'm being evicted. I have to shop at the $1,400 rate for my 2-bedroom that I need, and I was paying $900. Where is that extra money gonna come from in my monthly budget if it's a family who is working full-time near the minimum wage? That the math simply does not work. We also have families that are experiencing medical issues, health issues that are layered into that housing crisis. Loss of an income or a breadwinner of some kind. And we often think that's mom and dad splitting up. But sometimes it even looks like a mom who was living with her mother and had the kids in the home. And the mother decides, the grandmother decides, well, I'm gonna get my own place. And the mother struggles to stay there on her own. So it's different types of family separation that are happening too, and that support system dwindling. Sometimes that means they've come from a different city or state, or sometimes that means they've exhausted some of the resources in their crisis to try to avoid a shelter stay or avoid homelessness. And they've maybe burnt bridges or something took place where they have very little people that they can rely on right now. And then that financial crisis of a home repair, breakdown of a vehicle, things like that can really tip someone over the edge. We talked about this being the largest growing segment of the homeless population in our state, but about 40% of the homeless population in Michigan is comprised of families with kids. This is a snapshot of the journey that our families might take when they're encountering work with Family Promise. So diversion, really what that is we are doing our best to provide as much support to families as we can who are presenting in the community as they are in a housing crisis, they don't have anywhere to sleep tonight. We have about 50 rooms of shelter that we're managing. There's an additional 5 through ICCF community homes. But we manage the majority of the emergency shelter for families with kids. Almost always, there's those 50 families are waiting. There's an additional 50 families waiting for one room to open up. What did you say the outreach list was to this morning, Jim?
Today, there's 28 families that have asked us for a room, but all of our rooms are full. That's today. So we get that number every morning.
Yeah. And that's who we're having those conversations with. So diversion oftentimes will look like families presenting in a crisis. They might be staying with coworker, they might be staying with auntie, whomever. We say, what could we do to keep you with coworker or auntie, if that's a safe place for you right in the moment, even if it's not a permanent solution, right? It might not be a long-term solution for them to stay with auntie or coworker, but there's also no shelter for you. And so how can we support you in the place that you are? Because we also know, statistically speaking, that if a family doesn't enter into the shelter system and actually come into an emergency shelter program, their length of homelessness statistically is usually much shorter. And so can we keep you at auntie's and then you find housing from auntie's and we help you with a housing plan while you're at auntie's and do all of that. We often will do that. We have 5 caseworkers full-time that are doing that type of work for families in our community. There is a place where families need shelter. It's been cold. Families with little babies cannot be sleeping in their cars. That is just not acceptable in our community. And so we are making sure that those families who are most vulnerable are having a roof over their head and a safe, warm bed. Like I said, we have a variety of settings that we do that work in. And then our bread and butter is really our stabilization services. I would say over the past 5 years, that work has really, really skyrocketed on our team. We have an entire team that has nothing to do with families in emergency or in crisis. They are solely focused once a family gets a key and moves into their house. We have one person on that staff in particular that's an early childhood specialist. Her name is Jenny. She is delightful. And she brings games and she puts on events for the kids and she does her own house visits to families, especially with kids 5 and under, at those developmental stages to get them connected to the right resources. Because what we don't want is, we're supporting this family right now. We don't want to see them on our doorstep again 2 years from now. We want them to have the resources that they need, the support system they need to thrive. Which, like I said, is that early childhood. And then, of course, the ultimate goal being home ownership. One of the ways we do home ownership at Family Promise is through a program called Partners in Housing, We've been doing this for almost 15 years now, where we rehab manufactured housing. That's really our sweet spot as an organization in the manufactured housing space. We do about 10 to 12 homes per year right now. The sticker price of a Partners in Housing home is about $35,000 from purchase to rehab to key in hand to a family. Which, as you can imagine, is a monumental opportunity for a family who is currently in crisis to go from, I'm literally homeless staying in a shelter, to getting a key to a manufactured home and a year later owning that home. So that asset development, we walk alongside those families as they're in those homes. They take homeownership classes, they pay a title fee, and they are then gifted the title at the end of that and become a homeowner. It's just truly transformational for those families. A couple snapshots of our data before Jim comes up. We have been serving, we served almost 1,000 families. We're on track to do the same this year. As you can see, so many of the people we're serving are kids. Hence the reason we got connected originally, right, for these Christmas gifts. 50% successful diversion rate. Really what that means when we say success is that a family was kept safe out and did not have to come into shelter, but they were given the resources they needed to stay out of shelter and get to housing. And so that's what that success rate is showing. And then we have families that we're serving are exited into a permanent or positive placement almost all the time as they leave shelter with us. So I'm going to pass it off the last. Oh, yes.
What's the average length of stay of those 93%?
That's a great question. So our average length of stay often falls between 70 to 80 days. That has slowly crept up. Probably 5 years ago, our length of stay was 40 days. And the reason.
We're up to 98 today.
Yeah. So the length of stay is slowly creeping up. The average across the country is about 120 days in an emergency shelter for families with kids. We've always stayed below that national average, but the barriers to get into housing after a family lands into shelter are becoming, the wall is building higher and higher and higher for some of these families with their eviction and the background and the pieces, the competitiveness of any units that are anywhere near affordable. And that's really caused kind of that clog in the system. So Jim is actually going to talk about a couple of solutions as to why we're trying to get that number back down, that length of stay, as well as some other challenges and innovation that our organization has been working on to say, hey, what are we working on? How can we do this better?
I appreciate that so much, Kelsey. You've given us a background, a couple other numbers that were hidden in there that we didn't outline on the screen. Our recidivism rate right now is at 3%, which I think is really important. The trauma of homelessness, it's not uncommon for someone to be homeless, to get out of a shelter experience and then to fall back into that. And we're really proud of the work we do that has to do with the reason that we stay with families for 2 years. It's all about that stabilization work that you heard about. In West Michigan, there are 51 rooms for families with children who are homeless. You heard Kelsey share, we used to split the families up. Family Promise started because when families split up during a crisis, they rarely got back together. Mom went one way, dad went another way, kids went another way, and then the family was supposed to piece it together later, and it just didn't happen. So those rooms that keep those family units together in one space are few and far between. Again, we have 51 of those. They're full. They've been full every day since I've been at Family Promise for 5 years. Today, there's 28 families asking for one, and we need them so badly. If you are paying attention to the federal administration and the changes that are happening around housing, the housing and urban development scene, we won't go into the weeds on that, but just know that there's no more money to buy, purchase, renovate, or create more shelter. There is literally no money that comes down from the federal administration that would allow for any of you to buy a piece of land and make it shelter. You can't buy land, you can't buy a building, and you can't fix the building you already own with the dollars that exist to go towards shelter. So that's a problem. We also have a huge housing scarcity issue. This isn't new to you. We're 35,000 units short, somewhere around that here in Kent County. We're still the only growing counties, Ottawa and Kent, in the state of Michigan. We're seeing great talent acquisition. We're really proud of our community, but our units continue to get fewer and farther between, which right now our average 2-bedroom rent is up to about $1,800 a month based on our data from today. It's not published. You heard 1,400. That's the number I'm allowed to use. But in a year, we'll start saying 1,800 after they check the box and says it's been around for a year. So rental costs are going up, less units, and then with the federal funding uncertainties, gosh, I won't even bore you with that. It is really chaotic what's happening right now, and really scary. We expect family homelessness to double in the next 2 years. So take all the numbers I said, that Kelsey said, and multiply times 2. That's what we expect will be the ramifications of the current administration's changes. That was not a partisan comment. It's just to say that the supports most families with kids are using to maintain the status quo that is getting harder and harder are going away. And so we expect more and more of our Kent County families to fall into that space. And then we're really proud that we aren't going to let those kind of things stop us. It's our community, it's Grand Rapids, it's West Michigan that's going to come together and do this work. We believe that we're leaders in this space, not by accident, but because of the amazing community that the Lions so gratefully represent when you come together for good. We're really proud of a partnership we have with Notre Dame. So yes, the Notre Dame, I don't know what our college fandom is here, but their labor and economic opportunity, their lab for economic opportunity found us because of our recidivism rates and our stabilization work and said, we'd like you to pilot this program with us. They chose us as one of 4 partners across the nation. What they're doing right now is walking alongside us and they're monitoring all of the people taking calls right now. While we sit here eating lunch, those 5 case managers that are taking calls for people that think they have to go into a shelter tonight, when we divert them and we successfully keep them housed at Ponte's, as Kelsey put it, they track how much money that costs for a publication that's going to come out in 2 years that says we could fix homelessness instead of by doing all of this work over here by keeping people safely housed and do it this way. So they're actually using us as the people that go first to create the data, to create a program that they're going to try to roll out across the whole nation. You heard about Partners in Housing. Over its 15-year life, more than 200 families went from homeless to homeowner. We're really proud of that. It's called Partners in Housing because it takes philanthropic donations. It takes community volunteerism, where literally Lions Club can come up and help us inside of a mobile home. And it takes our staff. We have a full-time staff that works in manufactured housing, which maybe you're a developer, you work for Rockford, or you work for Honor Construction, or maybe you're really into RVs and like you're a camper like me, my family has pop-up. Mobile homes are like your pop-up and your house got together and had a baby on a crazy wild night. And it's a really unique space. So we actually house a full-time staff because everything's about 1/3 of an inch off from everything you're used to in your own homes. So we're really proud of the way that our staff does that. We own 2 mobile home parks. If you're not familiar with this concept, there was flipping houses. We did that for a long time. DeVos Place, when they first opened, you could go and learn how to flip houses. Just buy these 9 CDs and you can too. That is not as popular anymore because there's less housing available. So now 94% of the manufactured housing parks in the state of Michigan that sold in 2024 sold to an out-of-state hedge fund. They don't flip houses, they flip communities. It's really, really, really profitable. We got really mad because we were in 35 parks where we took people out of a housing crisis and put them into this space and said, you have stability, you have an asset, you can sell it, you can move it, you can give it to your kids, you can retire in it, it's yours. You didn't pay $1 for it. 35 grand to us, free to you, here you are. Well, all of the mobile home parks decided to change the rules over and over and over again, and so we just got pissed off and bought our own. That's how that went. We just said, that's not fair. What you're doing is criminal, and until the law catches up to that, which we are very proud to sit on that board with Laura and the Bureau of Compliance in Lansing, where I sit often. Until that catches up, we're just going to be great owners where we keep rents low, we keep the community safe, and we're really excited about that. We helped, you heard Kelsey talk about how there are congregations. There's a few churches in Grand Rapids, I don't know if you heard, synagogues, temples. But what we said is that while those churches were great to rotate shelter, it also created some re-traumatization for families and kids moving around so much. What if we just helped a church that was having a hard time financially and we bought the building? We'll fix the elevator, we'll fix the roof, we'll pay for the utilities. You can stay here. We won't even charge you that much for rent. But all those rooms you used to use back in the 60s and 70s, we're going to use them for families that have kids that are going to be on the street. So we actually own a church in Wyoming where we helped change the zoning code that allows for them to continue being a church and for us to meet residential code compliance. And then we hold a Rapid Roots rental program that we think is really innovative. Effectively, if Kelsey wanted to go get an apartment with her and her husband Rusty and children, she would apply and they would say, sorry, your credit sucks, Kels. And she'd be like, but I have the money and I'm working and everything. Oh! Family Promise steps in, we hold that lease, we talk to the private landlord, we assure them that we have case managers that'll be on site We hold the lease for 1 year while Kelsey leases from us as a sublessor. And our goal is to get her in 12 months ready to take over that lease on her own. Again, creating independence and long-term opportunities. And I promise that before questions, I tie this to what you've been used to. I'm so impressed that the Lions continue to want at the holiday season to go out and shop and to gift people who might not be in as great of a place as you and your families are, or that you've experienced when you were younger, or that your children had. We don't have that same program, but you found us. Because what we're really proud of is at the end of the year, all the families that we've been working with for the last 48 months or less, some as early as last week, are trying to figure out what their holiday is going to look like. And they're not really sure. We have learned over time that donations are great. We've learned over time that allowing families to come pick up things off a shelf is great. But what they have loved most, and what we have seen work time and time again, is when they get to shop for their own children. When moms and dads and grannies and grandpas and whoever the caregivers are get to walk into a space and use their hard-earned money, because most of our families are employed with cars, getting their kids to school. Our shelters are desolate during the day, because these are people that you are familiar with. The people you see when you stop to pick up at Jimmy John's might be staying in our shelter. But what we learned from these people is that they really wanted to take the money they've earned and buy their children gifts. They know what they want. They know, if it's Pokemon versus football cards in my house, I have 2 10-year-old sons, and that's the fight. They know what to get, and they also take great pride in using their resources. So what we've been able to do, and what we're really excited to hear that the Lions might want to join us in, is to provide resources and gifts that come into a store space that we manage, that's exclusive to people who have gone through this system of diversion, emergency shelter, prevention, and stability, even through our home ownership program, the whole gamut. We welcome them into our spaces. They come with their lists and they shop with us. And that's something we invite you to be on site for, to volunteer at, to witness. We have gift wrappers. Kelsey's been a part of this for a long time. And just if you're wondering how her and I ended up partners in this space, Kelsey came up through social work. She worked directly with families and kids and children. You probably can tell. She's lovely and wonderful. I came up with the brick and mortar, so I'm the development guy. I was on the planning commission. So I live in like the for-profit world. And so I handle all strategic partnerships, all of our policy and all development work. But she and I both now sit on the same team. And what we both love about this program is that it embraces all of the social work things that we love, accountability, planning, budgeting, that is helping families get back on their feet. And at the same time, it's leveraging all the community resources and people like you that want in this moment to be philanthropic, to be giving, to be charitable. And it merges them into a place that we think really creates dignity. I'm going to invite Kelsey back up. We'd love to hear your questions about our organization, about the people we serve, specifically about our holiday store that ends our year and how you might partner with it, because I know that those are the details that you're so proud of. We know we're not the same as the traditions you've had, but we hope to be great partners this year, and if we're lucky enough to continue moving forward with questions.
Yeah.
I appreciate you touching on that in terms of where we were with the previous holiday shopping experience that we provided, or the Lions have done for 27 years or so. And so Don and I have, along with Megan, who through Cherry Health found some organizations that we explored, and we were asked by the board to research them a little bit more, and that's how we came to Family Promise. Maybe you can touch on what's going to happen in this upcoming couple next week, and the in terms of your store. It seemed to meet our mission of what we've done in the past as closely as we could, given the circumstances that we presently have with the past programming being the funds being deleted and the program being shut down. So we're looking forward to working with you, and those of you who have contributed, and the grant money, as well as the sponsorship ownership that was done through the helps will go towards that, and we're going to be doing that this week.
What does it look like, Kels?
Yeah, so on the 11th, we'll be collecting all of any of the partners that have come alongside us to collect toys or household items. That's one of the beautiful things about this opportunity, as well as it's not just toys for the kids. A lot of these families are starting over from scratch. And so we have a whole household room that will have vacuums and microwaves and pots and pans and towels and all sorts of things that families need to set up their new home as well. And so the gifts will get dropped off on Thursday night at Cornerstone Church Heritage Hill. We've had our Christmas store there for over a decade, and it's conveniently located just down the road from our main office on Cherry Street. They're right on 48 Lafayette. And so we'll set up in multiple spaces in their congregation. We really use the whole gamut of their space to provide a meal for the families. They're able to come in and shop. There's high schoolers through Forest Hill Central that will come and hang out with the kids while moms and dads get to go into the store area and shop. So it can still be kind of a secret to the kids that the gifts are coming on Christmas morning. There's cookies to decorate. There's just all sorts of things going on that night. And so it's just a really, really beautiful opportunity for those families. And the invite list gets racked up to about 80 to 90 families that night. And so we are assigning people shopping times and hopefully get an even flow. That doesn't always happen. But we serve a lot of families. Hundreds of kids will get gifts that night because of the Christmas store. So it's really good.
Tell them how much the gifts are gonna cost.
Yeah. So like we were saying, there is a cost associated just because of a lot of the times there's a lot of shame associated for the moms and dads that go through this crisis. And so we want to kind of pour back in some dignity and respect to the moms and dads. They'll oftentimes pay 50 cents for each toy. There's also vacuums, microwaves that are $2-3. And so they'll oftentimes get to check out and their shopping cart will literally be overflowing. And they'll hear their total and the checkout person will say, you've got $8.50. And they were prepared, they have a $20 bill. And this is just so beautiful. Oftentimes families, when they get to that ending point, they'll say, well, I want to pay it, whatever is left, I'm going to pay the next family's thing. And there was one year that happened 10 times in a row, which is just so beautiful. So beautiful. So families are so giving and so generous, even in some of their greatest times of need. So we get to be part of that Christmas magic at the Christmas store.
And volunteers be a part of that? I know that there's not a lot of space.
Yeah, we have a lot of the volunteer roles because especially for Cornerstone, because the church themselves hosts it and they bring some of the volunteers to the table because their congregation is hosting. It's coveted for them. They're so excited. They love the Christmas store. They sign up for the same role every year. So there are a few spots left, and we can connect with Victoria, and as you all know, there's a little bit of need for setup on Thursday, but I know there's already a group that maybe is bringing the gifts at that time. And then, like I said, the following evening. And then we also, anything that's left over, we continue to distribute leading up to Christmas. So the Friday night thing is the big shebang. We have Santa there and the meal and all of the things, the volunteers to hang out with kids. But then that following week, whatever is left comes back to our headquarters at Cherry Street right up the road. And we'll then continue calling families. Maybe it's a family who got caught at work and couldn't come to their shopping time. Well, we'll call them back and say, hey, there's still items left over. You're welcome to come and shop. So we continue to distribute that to even more families.
Are there other questions? Sir?
So during your diversion efforts, using Auntie as an example, so the reason they have to split up because the rent went from 1,000 to 1,500, let's say. And so Auntie's got to get a smaller place and the family staying with her has to go somewhere. Do you ever like subsidize that? Do you cut rent checks for a certain number of months to not force this eviction or split?
I can speak directly to that. We started our Rapid Roots housing program that way, which by accident we were like, it feels like $300 would fix this issue. Let's subsidize this rent as long as we can because we have no shelter rooms available. Some private donors, I'll give a shout out to Beist Electric, a wonderful company at 6874th down on 131, just lovely. They gave us $40,000 a few years ago to play with the concept, what if you could subsidize rent to keep the system stable? That worked really well until the system got so unstable that the $300 for each user couldn't suffice any longer. With Auntie's example, a lot of times we're talking about generational living, grandma, daughter, grandkids, and grandma needs to go into assisted living or retirement community. And that might be the moment where things get a little shaky. And we can't usually deal with that, but we will offset rent costs. The brief answer is not my gift, brevity's not, yes, we do subsidize rent, and we can only do that when private dollars support that. I should have said it that way. There aren't funds that come through the government that would allow us to do that, and we use our very private fundraised dollars to do just that, especially during the winter months. Is to try and offset that rent. I mentioned, you heard her say it's the fastest growing population. Family homelessness grew 39% in 2024 across the United States of America, across the whole country. That's a statistic we're allowed to use. So it's happening, and it's happening quickly, and we're trying to be creative. So our government funding we're trying to use in the ways that they're allowing us to, and it's the private dollars from organizations like yours and households like mine that are allowing us to be more creative and flexible with those monies. Did I miss anything on that? Okay, yeah.
So, for this year, and with our clubs involved.
Yeah.
How is our club helping or going to help? And then also, where do the gifts come from? You go out and buy them?
Yeah, part of the thing that we love doing is supporting local economy. Like I'm a business guy, so I want us to buy from mom and pop shops. I want us to go to the stores that are already donating to us. And we also look for partners that are going to give us discounts. So if we can get one iPad for X, but we can get 10 iPads for less, that's the way to go. We don't get a lot of iPads. That's
Part of our partnership.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
can
But, John-
speak to that. The four of us, Megan, and one of me. This coming Saturday, we're gonna go and shop at Myers with about $5,000. And we're gonna buy maybe 50 gift cards for $20, and then 4,000 of microwaves,
Pots and pans.
pots and pans, smaller gifts, that type of thing. Because most of the major gifts have been taken care of by Forest Hill Central, I think.
Yep, Sills does a huge
So,
fundraiser.
so we got a lot of shopping to do. And now we're gonna store everything at ABVI for several days until we deliver them to the church where
And then we just clean it up.
where it's gonna be
We
going.
did, for that reason.
We just pick it up.
For that reason. And the money,
I think we're set. I think
the money that we're using, because the grant did come through for Myers and also from Wealth Advancement, the Phelps donated sponsorship. So, and then we had a few gift cards left over from last year, so we're taking that, and we're gonna be, we've made our list, and we're gonna divide it up, and the four of us are gonna, and one thing we really liked about Family Promise, community-based, all the families are vetted. It services these kids that have really no Christmas. And also it goes through Cherry Health, which is, well, it has that benefit, yes, very much of a benefit to the visually impaired program there.
Well, one of the things that I really enjoy about our efforts with Myers is that we were hand in hand with kids to buy gifts for their parents or guardians. And so is that opportunity available to individuals that are coming to your shop so that it can be the kids? Because they, kids don't understand about gifting sometimes. They receive gifts all the time. But, it's nice to know that kids learn that it's time to give back.
So because of the format of the store and keeping it separate for the kids, they're playing, they're decorating cookies, they're hanging out with volunteers while parents are shopping. Just because that allows the parents to really go through and select gifts and do what they want to do to surprise their kids on Christmas morning. There's not a separate kids shop, but there are gifts that are given to each parent. So as parents are able to select something, a lot of the school systems have special gift programs. And so like Jenny, our early childhood person, would be able to connect families and say, hey, your school is an opportunity to shop. And sometimes that costs a couple of dollars, but oftentimes the school system, and we're connected with a lot of the homeless liaisons within the schools to support the kids that might not have the $5 or $10 to do the secret Christmas shop at their school, which would be a great opportunity for those families to do the gift.
And I will say that idea had not struck me before, but I've witnessed what you're saying. And I think we can bring that back to our leadership and say, is there an opportunity in the future years to create a space? And maybe the Lions Club is staffing that alternate room. And it's a place where we have a secondary store that kids can be like, what does mom and dad want?
Or just give them an hour.
Exactly, a private, I really promise I will bring that back, and I know we've got to let you get on with your stuff. There's a couple things I always want to leave when I have a microphone, so just humor me for a second. I talk about housing and statistics all the time, but the thing that lands when I'm talking to people that aren't part of this every day is, can your grandkids or your children who just got engaged, congratulations, afford to move back to where you live? Is there an apartment for them right now? And the answer is almost always no. Right, and then the second thing I learned this past week, just before Thanksgiving, that took me out at the knees. 19% of all leases signed in the state of Michigan went to eviction court last year. That's 1 in 5. There's an eviction cliff coming, regardless of who you vote for and what you believe. And we just need to come together in moments like this and say, how can we become more aware of it? How can we be more thoughtful and creative and holistic as a community to make sure that Grand Rapids isn't the ones that they write stories about, like what happened in 2025, right? So thank you for letting us be here. Thank you for allowing Kelsey to tell you the sweet stuff and me to give all the doom and gloom. Thank you, President Kyle, for being the person that allowed me to write your name on my guest slip. We're gonna stick around in case there's an opportunity to chat afterwards. And I don't know how you'll close your meeting, but I do thank you for this time.
Just a little momentum. Thank
You.
for being here. Thank you for what you did.
Thank you.
This is lovely. Cheers.
So thank you to Jim and Kelsey at Family Promise. And I also just want to say thank you to Ann and Jim and Don and Megan for identifying this. I think this is really a great outcome on awfully short notice. So thank you, everyone, and have a great time at the holiday.